didn't see you there. This is Miguel from Opposites Attract Podcast. I wanted to make a video for you guys today about where we used to record our podcast, the video podcast, and where we record our podcast today. So you guys can see where we've moved to and the equipment that we use, just in case you guys are thinking about starting a podcast yourselves and starting it on a budget, because that's something that we're really focused on right now, is making sure that we do a high quality podcast on a budget. So let me show you guys where we used to record the podcast when we first started. So the first couple episodes we did were audio only. So we didn't have a video, but then we decided that we were going to do a video podcast. And this is our dinner table. And when we first started our podcast, it might look familiar to some of you. I used to sit here, my wife would sit here, and you could see the grill in the background, and you have the hose reels, and there's like a little garbage can. We would move everything out of the way, and we would shoot this way so that you kind of get a little bit of a background shot while we were recording our podcast. And actually, this laptop that you see here, it's an old laptop, and this is what we used to use to record our podcast. But now we've moved into our office. We made a little bit of a dedicated space for our podcast. So let's head over there so you guys can take a look at that. So our office it's a small office. I mean, I don't know how it looks in the video, but it's pretty small. It's tight. I mean, you can see that's where my wife works in the corner, and that's where, you know, I pay bills and we do our stuff there. And this side of the room is where we record our podcast. So these chairs that you see here, my wife picked them up on OfferUp. They are super heavy. I think they came out of an attorney's office, and we picked them up for about, I think, $45 for both of them. And then this couch we also got on OfferUp for about $150. And this wall that you see here, the walls used to be gray, like this wall that you see. But we went to Home Depot, and they had these planks, these panels on sale. And I think with all the material that we bought, it cost about $200 to put this wall up. So the headphones that we have that we use are the Sony MDR 7506. Now this we didn't want to have to upgrade the headphones later, because the hookups, the way the headphones hook up, it's kind of like a industry standard. So we figured we might as well just buy the headphones that we're going to be using in the future. But even still, they're not that expensive. They're between $75 and $78. Now these microphones, as far as podcasting, like entry-level podcasting microphones, these are the best microphones that you're going to be able to get. In my opinion, I've done a ton of research on these microphones. These are the Audio-Technica ATR 2100s, and these are USB microphones. So for those of you that are looking at starting a podcast on a budget, and all you have is a computer or a laptop, you can get one of these microphones. This whole setup with the boom arm, the shock mount, the microphone, and it also comes with a pop filter. But we don't use it because it's like it covers up your entire face, and when you're recording a video podcast, you want to be able to see the people's face. But that whole setup is about $100, $95 to $100. If you were to get just the microphone by itself, I think you can get the microphone for $60 to $70. And I'm going to put a link to all the equipment that you see here in the description of the video. So if you're interested in buying it, you can buy it through those links, and it also helps out our podcast. So my wife also went nuts. She had the green light to go buy the end tables that we hook up the microphones to. This is our new hourglass that it measures about 1 hour and 6 minutes, which is about the length of our podcast. So we'll be using that. And then these tables, they have power connections in the back. So I don't know exactly how much you spent on those. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You can get stuff on OfferUp, like we talked about before. All the wires for the headphones and the microphones they're all directed underneath the couch, and then we have splitters that go towards the computer. So I'll show that to you guys now. So this is the splitter for the headphones. You can see all the headphones hooked up here, and then we have a 30-foot extension. And I mean, this splitter I think is like $6 to $8. This might have been like $10. So that's how we hook up the 4 headphones, and the 4 microphones are hooked up through a little USB hub. So you got all 4 hooked up here, and then we have another extension that runs down to the computer. And then I'll show you where the wires come out and where the computer's at. So here you can see the wires coming out back here, which you'll probably never see that. And then they get hooked up to our computer that's back over here. And I mean, you can see how tight this space is, but we just make it work. We make it work. You know, we make do with what we have. So yeah, for anybody that's interested in doing a podcast, you know, it doesn't have to be, you know, super expensive. If you just want to do an audio podcast, if you already have a computer, all you need is a microphone, which is $60. If you want to do a video podcast, just find a place to set your stuff up, and you can get this set up for $100. And you probably are. I mean, you might even be watching this on your cell phone, which you can record with. And another thing that I want to show you guys is our lights. This is the first light that we got. The first tripod. It holds our cell phone. You can see it here. And I think it has a ring light up here. And it was about $35-40. And then we ended up getting some studio lights, which you can see here. These studio lights were about $150. And we have them angled up this way because if we have them directly at us, it creates shadows and it doesn't look as good. We learned that by trial and error. If you look at our first podcast in the studio, I like to call it the studio, even though it's the office. But if you look at our first podcast that we recorded in here, you can see the shadows because we were learning. But after that, you can see that we redirected the light and it looks a lot better. So yeah, like I said, I appreciate you guys listening and taking the time. I'm going to make another video talking about the software that we use and how we edit the podcast, because like I said, we do everything on the cheap, and we try to do it as high quality as we can, and all the software that I use is free software. So I use the Microsoft Photos program to edit the video, which is something that comes on all the computers already. I use Audacity, which is a free recording software, and I use something called Voice Meter, which allows us to connect all the microphones at one time and be able to record. So look out for those videos. I'll be making those in the future. Thank you guys for watching. And make sure you check out our next podcast. You can go to oppositesattractpod.com and you can see everything there. You can check out our YouTube. You can subscribe on Spotify. Anywhere that you find podcasts, you can find it. Google Play, iTunes, everything. So thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you guys next time.